Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started shortly. We're glad to have you here. So happy to have you. And we have a lot of people joining us today. So we're letting folks in from the waiting room. And I know Ellie has a check-in for you as we're waiting and getting folks started. So Ellie, if you want to tell folks what that check-in is before we get officially started.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. And before we get started about how we can embed social emotional learning with an equity lens, I just want to see what is one takeaway you hope to get from this professional learning. I value your time, and there's so much to say and to discuss about this. So I want to see what are some of the things you want to take away from this professional learning. You're more than happy to either put it on the chat so we can see it, or raise your hand, and Jackie will help me with that, so you can share what is one takeaway you want to take from this professional learning. So feel free to put it on the chat or unmute yourself if you want to share.
Thanks, Ellie. And yes, I see folks popping in the chat already about their hopes for takeaways. Thank you so much. Once again, for folks who are just joining us, we are recording today's session. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable at all and you'd rather not have your camera on, feel free to turn your camera off. We will be sharing this, this session with folks afterwards. So you'll receive an email follow-up with this, the recording. And we'll also be able to share it with colleagues who weren't able to join us today. So thanks for your understanding, and thanks for popping your takeaways, your hopes and dreams for takeaways today in the chat. And since we're about to get started, I just want to welcome everyone. My name is Jackie Levine. I'm the coordinator of school leadership and marketing services for Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, and we are beyond ecstatic to have Ellie Mercado here today with us from Ossining Central School District, Union Free School District rather, to provide a really in-depth look at SEL in our buildings and schools through an equity lens. And I can't tell you what a more beautiful and brilliant soul Ellie is to work with. I have just had the pleasure of working with her over the past couple of months. Believe it or not, this is months in the making. Ellie, I'm so glad this day is finally here. But we have worked together over the past couple of months, and she has just brought such brilliance and so much energy and passion to this topic. And you are really in for a treat. She's got loads of strategies and ideas for you. And I know that you're going to walk away with a lot that you've learned and a lot that you can implement in your schools right now. So Ellie, it's an honor and a privilege to work with you. Thank you. And thank you for offering this to our region for free. I cannot believe the turnout we have. We have, for those of you who don't know, we have 84 people signed up for this workshop. So we have at least 57 of you with us right now, which is amazing. But we expect that little by little, folks will still continue to join us throughout the morning. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the brilliant Ellie Mercado to start leading us in our workshop today. Ellie, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Jackie and Michelle, for helping us, make this happen. And I'm just reading quickly some of the chat. Karen May, like a lot of the people that I know, some specific strategies and ideas to identify the barriers. We're going to be talking a lot about that, tools and resources, strategies to support them. Just so you know, we're going to be talking a lot about the strategies, and I might not be able to get to all of them, but I promise you everything I'm going to be sharing with you. And that's what at the end, we're going to have the opportunity to have 20-25 minutes for you to work together in teams and go back to all the strategies. And I will be also emailing you and sharing anything that you need. So I am in self-care, mental health, all of these are important topics that I do. We'll make sure that we touch base and talk today about in our PD. So just so you know, this is the agenda for today. A quick welcome and check in, and also then we're going to talk a little bit about why SEL with an equity lens. Then we're going to discuss 6 recommendations. I have done a lot of research and I'm very passionate about this topic. So I want to, discuss 6 recommendations that Ossining specifically in our district is doing to support social emotional learning with an equity lens. And also we're going to go a little bit into being culturally responsive and also inclusiveness and all of that. Then you will have the opportunity to do action work. You're going to be able to create your own action plans, get into breakout rooms with your colleagues, take time to explore. It's your time to do what you need to do to get the most out of this PD. Then we have an accountability form to make sure that I can follow up with you, or you can follow up with me, so we can continue building like a little mastermind of SEL with an equity lens, so we can continue supporting each other during this journey. And we will have time at the end for comments and questions. So I'm really looking forward. We have a full agenda, and I want to make sure we get to everything. Just so you know, I just want to take a few minutes before I get started to share with you my why. I'm an assistant principal. My name is Ellie Mercado, and I'm an assistant principal in the middle school in Austin, and I am extremely passionate about social and emotional learning with an equity lens. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it, and I spend a lot of time learning and discussing and working on this, is because of my my personal experience. Growing up, I went through a lot of the barriers and inequities and challenges a lot of our students, especially our students in Austin, who we have 60% of our population who are Hispanics, have to go through. So I think, you know, sharing a little bit about my story with you gonna help us put things in perspective, and I'm gonna share with you why this work is so important. I immigrated to this country with you know, when I was in middle school with my mom and my 4 younger siblings. My dad didn't get a visa, so we had to separate from my father to make it here. My parents only finished middle school in Dominican Republic, so the hope was that they were able to have their kids, you know, go to college and have a better education, because we struggle financially there. So we came to live with another family here who had 4 kids. So it was 8 of us, eight children and 4 adults. I was the oldest of all the children. We live in a small apartment in the South Bronx where, you know, drugs, violence, and poverty face us each day. So we were in constant fear of immigration because of my dad didn't get a visa, and I think we didn't qualify, but we were able to get it. So we were in constant fear that we were going to be sent back. My neighborhood, the one that I was in, didn't have a lot of Spanish-speaking people. So my mom said that there was a neighborhood in Manhattan that had more Spanish-speaking people. So Monday through Friday, they sent me to live with another family while I was in middle school. So that way it will be a little bit more familiar to me. So I was separated from my mom Monday through Friday and my siblings to just go to attend to the other school, which she had a lot of, you know, depressed and really heartbroken that she was not able to be with me during that time. It was really challenging for me during that time because I was always anxious, overwhelmed, feeling inadequate, working long hours, trying to translate everything from Spanish to English. I was a very good student in Dominican Republic. I worked really hard. So coming here and not knowing the language made me feel like inadequate, that I was not able to fit in and to be as valued and to be, you know, safe for all the things that I was able to do. So I definitely didn't fit in. So going through, you know, basically homelessness, poverty, being in an unsafe environment, emotional instability. In addition to that, I missed a lot of school, which today will be considered chronic attendance that we all know about. When I learned a little bit of English to help my family get, you know, social services like, you know, welfare, Medicaid, and Section 8 and all those things, they had to attend all those appointments with them so that way they can get those services. So I missed a lot of school, and then people realized that I was doing that for my family. So the community members, that people that didn't speak English, I need to borrow Ellie for an appointment. And even though my mom valued education a lot, surviving and supporting the community to get our basic needs was a priority at that time. You know, my mom didn't know she was getting, you know, that was something she wasn't supposed to do because there was no communication. You know, she used to get a little postcard in English saying like your child missed schoolwork, but she didn't understand it. So she just threw it out. So that was like my experience with middle school. One of the things that really, and that's what culturally responsive and equity and educating our educators is so important, is when I was in an English class, you know, our teacher asked us to write an essay, including metaphors and similes, of, you know, a poem. And I spent all night like first of all, figuring out what that is in Spanish with the dictionary, then trying to write it in Spanish and trying to translate it into English, and then going back and making it perfect. A lot of long hours. What took like any kid like 30, 20 minutes to do, it took me 10 times as much because I wanted to do it well and trying to figure it out from by myself with the dictionary. Google Translate wasn't there back then. So it was really, really hard. But I didn't know I had to get up in front of the class and read it the next day until the teacher said, Elizabeth, get up. And I don't know how to say I felt, but I was so anxious, fearful, embarrassed. My heart was palpitating. I was sweating. And I got up trying to read my essay to the best of my ability. But my thick accent and my nervousness, it was impossible for me to like, for her to understand me. So she kept saying, what? And then she got behind me and trying to read my paper and making me pronounce each word correctly. And the more anxiety and the more she did it, the more I couldn't speak. And that wasn't the worst part of it, because at that moment I was just, I was so embarrassed and uncomfortable. The part of it was when the kids in class started giggling and laughing because they were seeing what the teacher was doing. At that moment, I just wanted to disappear and be invisible. I was so resentful at my parents. I'm like, why did they take me away from where I felt smart, where I belong, where I felt like I was valued and I was somebody to going through this and being humiliated. So that was an experience that just made me not even speak for most of my school years unless I had to, because I was silenced of being so embarrassed during that time. When I was going into high school, automatically I was placed in the track for remedial classes, having this, having me coming, an immigrant from a very, back with parents who didn't speak English, where I couldn't, from that neighborhood. And I automatically was placed in the remedial classes, which the adults around me felt that I wasn't able to handle, the rigorous classes or AP of taking the Regents course. I remember, I think it was RCT back then. But I'm really grateful that I had one teacher who was an E&L teacher that was able to took some time to get to know me. And she fought for months with the guidance counselor, with the administration. She said, she can do it. She can handle that track. And after a lot of work that she did, and to this day, I'm still close to her. They put me in the regular track for the high school, and I was able to have my Regents diploma and take some AP courses. And in addition to that, I was able to, I was the valedictorian for that high school and got a full scholarship to Hofstra for my BA and to Columbia University for my master's. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to be, able to do those rigorous courses and believe in myself. So that's another reason why I'm so passionate about the importance of building relationships and having a champion in your life that can, when you can speak, somebody else can speak for you. So that's one of the reasons that I am really, really, one of the reasons I'm passionate about the work. And I believe that the work of equity, of social emotional learning, of cultural responsiveness, of inclusiveness is so key and important in our lives, especially nowadays. And I believe that all our students now, where they come from now, whatever zip code they coming from, whatever race, whatever ethnicity, whatever religion, they all deserve to have a trusting, welcoming environment where they feel they belong. They need to have caring people who care about them and that take the time to get to know their story and get to know what they're going through and get to know who they truly are. And not looking at them from a deficit mindset. They don't speak English, they from this neighborhood, they can do it, but more like, wow, look at what that girl is doing. She's like working hours to trying to make this work, helping the whole community, getting all those services to survive, and still getting up and showing up, trying to do what she has to do, and looking at us from like a more asset. What are they bringing to this? So, and I think that today I want to have the opportunity to share with you some of the things that we can do. We as educators, we're in a position that right now that we can do, even if it's for one person, change the trajectory of my life. And we have so many resources that Austin is doing right now to help our communities and our families. So that way I didn't have to, miss school to attend those things. So I didn't have to do it on my own after school. And what we can do to give the support and the services that all our students, deserve today. And thank you for just listening to my story, but I want you to know where I'm coming from and why this work is so important and how we can make a difference. I want to get started first with a little bit about SEL, and a lot of people say social emotional learning, but with social emotional learning without the equity in it, it doesn't matter if we, it is important to tell our kids, when you're feeling anxious or when you're feeling sad, and recognizing those emotions and building those relationships is so important. But telling a kid like, you are, you've been abused at home and you can't sleep and you don't know if you're going to be sent to your country, and having those anxiety and telling them just call and take a deep breath, that's not SEL. That's not really meeting the needs of all our kids. So it is important for us to know that for us to do this work, all learning is social emotional, and we need to make sure that we support our students in at home and the community, the classroom, and the systems that we have in place that are preventing some of our kids to thrive and not just survive in our system. More of a why, those people that need to know the research, just so you know, 11% of those schools that are implementing SEL in their schools and in the programs, there's an 11% increase in academic achievement and graduation rates, and an improvement of the climate and the community building of a school. And it also decreases all the mental health, especially nowadays, how teenagers are, depression and suicide rates are going up the roof, and how when we are implementing SEL, all those things are reduced, and the emotional distress and behaviors and things that are affecting our youth today. And more, if you need more information about it, there has been a lot of research done about what are employers out there looking for the 22nd century, from in the future. What are the skills that they're looking in the people that they're hiring? They all have to do with social emotional skills. They all have to do with working with other, problem solving, emotional intelligence, coordinating with other, managing people. So this work is important for several reasons. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of information of what we have that shows that. Why social emotional learning with an equity lens? Another thing that I wanted to, discuss today, and I think I shared before about, it is so important to know where our kids are coming from and the culture, and how we can make sure that all those systems and all the things that we have in place are supporting that child socially and emotionally. It's not just the skills, but also the structures in the system around them that, they not automatically start being tracked because, this is where they're coming from. They can speak the language automatically there. Why don't all our kids get, rigorous instruction and the best education possible and all the resources that they need, so they all can learn and they all can be successful and have that rigorous curriculum. So, in the past, this is what we had. It was from here, social emotional learning, discussing, a little bit of the social emotional needs, the competencies. You need to be self-aware and knowing your emotion and managing yourself, the relationship skills, responsible decision making, take a deep breath and think, what tools can you use to make sure that you make the right decisions. And a little bit was talking about the systems in place and what's happening with our, the systems and policies and the classroom environment and the belief of the adults around the kids. But now we're moving more to this, social emotional learning and the skills is important, but we have to, what we have to make sure is that we remove those barriers of the society and what the school systems have in place, the environment and the belief around the people working with our kids. And the shift should go from fixing the kids, learn how to regulate yourself, to addressing the belief around them. Because if the adults around the kids believe that this child coming from this place can learn or is not capable of this, and that's the biases and the belief that the adults around them have, what do you think the kids are going to feel? And how can we create those equitable learning environments that our kids are going through every single day? And those family dynamics going on at home, being the fear of being sent to with immigration, or the fear of like having food on the table, of the fear of where I'm, where I am, I don't have a home. If I'm going to be sent back, I'm going to be with another relative. Do I have to go to a different school? Why are we putting all the responsibility on the child learning how to regulate themselves, and why don't we as the adults in the systems do something about it? So I know I've said a lot, so I just want to just have a quick checkpoint so we can take a deep breath. I'm going to practice social emotional learning now and just share something that is resonating with you. I was going to do a Jamboard, but I know we have a lot of people, so you can either raise your hand and Jackie will help me with that, or you can put it on the chat. What is something that is resonating with you at this point?
I am keeping my eye on my participant box in case any hands go up, but I imagine folks are typing in the chat. I noticed, Ellie, as you were speaking, especially as you were sharing your story, a lot of folks were chiming in on the chat, messages of support, of gratitude for you sharing your story, and also cheers and yes to a lot of the things you were saying. So
thank you. Thank you. And I see some people, someone share from surviving to thriving. Yes, we don't want our kids to survive. We want our kids to thrive. They deserve that, especially with everything they're going through, still showing up. That's the least we can do for them. Thank you everybody for sharing and supporting this work. It really moves me.
I also saw Nicole's hand go up. Nicole, I don't know if you still wanted to share. Feel free to unmute your mic. And
well, I was just gonna say, Ellie, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your personal testimony and your stories and your experiences, because I think it's forums like this and conversations like this that are so true and so raw and so emotional, that really allows for others to see different perspectives. And when we're able to see other perspectives, we're able to be the best that we can be as educators in supporting all of our students. I loved the example that you gave when you said that in your personal life experience, how there wasn't anybody really there to support you and motivate you, except for that one person that saw your abilities and what you were capable of and your potential. So many of our students, like you said, encounter teachers that say, oh, they can't handle that, or they can't do that, right? And don't give them vigorous or challenging courses to take or opportunities that some of their peers get. So it's just, I don't know, it's just validating and I don't know, just awesome to hear you sharing what you're sharing, because I think the more educators that hear different experiences like this, one by one, we'll start looking at our students in a different way, right? And one by one, we'll start supporting our students in the way that they need it in order for all of them to be successful and thrive in the educational setting. So thank you so much for today. You're just awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. And you're right. This is hard work and it is a lot to be done. But if you can do just one little thing and change one person's life, like that lady changed it for my life. And I'm here today and I have the opportunity to speak up and talk to you, and each one of you just sharing somebody's life. We can definitely make a difference. So thank you all. Let me go to the next one. So these are the 6 recommendations. I mean, I love this work and I have read a lot about it, but I noticed that these 6 recommendations kind of summarize it in a nice way. And it was from Ed Trust that I took these 6 recommendations. The first one is providing meaningful professional development. We need to be able to educate our staff and equip them with the skills that they need to be able to do this work. Engaging the parents and students and the communities as full partners. diversifying the workforce. Our kids need to see people that look like them, that are successful, and that speak like them, that are successful. I struggled my whole life because feeling that I have a thick accent, people thought I'm not smiling capable. So I want to see people that look like me and speak like me be successful. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I can do it too. So that's very important. Ensuring that all our kids have rigorous and culturally sustaining coursework, and the biographies that they read and the work that they do and the work that they see are from people that come like them and that is value and relevant to them. Developing inclusive discipline. As we know, like with the data, students of colors are really the numbers are there's a lot of disparities and a lot of work we need to do in this area. And last but not least, providing the wraparound services and supports that our students need, so we don't need to have our kids, translate for our parents and miss schools or have to attend medical things, all the things that we can do that to help those families. And when we support our families, we are supporting our kids. Just a quick poll I want to do, and then these are the 6 recommendations that I'm going to focus on, like your professional development, engaging parents, diversifying the workforce, rigorous cultural work, inclusive discipline, and wraparound services. I just want to take a quick poll and find out which one of this your school is doing really well, because sometimes we have to take inventory and say, you know what, out of all of this is one area that they're doing well. And that way we know, okay, what are the areas that we need to do more work on?
So I have gone ahead and launched the poll. So as you can see, you can choose from one of the areas. I had to cut them down just a little bit in their full terms because not everything fits on the poll sections they give you. It's almost like Twitter, you have to only have so many characters. But keeping an eye, we have 66 folks, so I'm expecting that a good portion of our folks will be entering in their answers. We'll give you another 30 seconds to do so, and then we'll stop the poll and then we'll share the results so everyone can see where we feel our region and our schools are the strongest. I see 46 out of 66 have answered the poll, giving it another 12 seconds here. Okay.
If I may share something, I know I had to walk out for 1 minute, but Ellie, I don't have the pleasure of knowing you. My name is Carmen Vargas. I'm the principal in Peekskill in the pre-K building. And as you were sharing your story, it was kind of like mirroring my story. I mean, I'm Dominican. My parents came, the same story, small apartment, 3 children, my accent, the bullying, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not this. So it was kind of like you were telling my story as I was listening to your story. So we're right there, and hopefully I get to meet you and then we get to share a little bit more. But it was kind of like you were saying the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, you lived my experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's what we have to share our story and realize that we all have a lot in common and that there's a lot of us out there, which is awesome. Thank you. I would definitely love to meet you.
Yes.
Now we noticed that wraparound services has the highest, like it seems like that's the area that most of you are doing well, which is great, giving our families the support that they need, and then professional development and engaging the parents in the community. Thank you, Jackie, for helping me with the poll.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. And I just want to make sure, thumbs up if everyone can see the results. Okay, great. I'm going to stop sharing the results so Ellie can continue now.
Absolutely. So the first one is providing meaningful supports development, professional development for our staff, because we have to definitely build the capacity of the adults around the students to be able to do this work. And just in here, those are just some examples of some of the professional development that we have done in our district. And later on, when you have the opportunity to work in groups, you're going to be able to click on them and seeing the professional development work from equity, regulating emotions. We have done book clubs with permission to feel, which is, the YEL rubric, culturally responsive and so forth. But we also have, we created, and I don't know if everybody's going to have access to navigate the Google site, because I think you have to have an ASININ email for that, but everything in here is a Google Doc or slide that I can definitely share with you, so you will have the opportunity to look at that. So in the Google site, and everyone in our school has access to that. We have, from the plan of SEL plan, from the learning benchmark, as we have benchmarks, we have standards that we need to meet for every level, from activities to do with our students like that, to support the social or emotional learning with like gratitude, as we know, gratitude, definitely supports our mental health and so forth. And these are some of the activities that our teachers can do, either like as a little check-in or in the writing class, or when they celebrating certain holidays and so forth. We also have here this Google slide. We have a weekly memo that goes to the teachers, and in this weekly memo, we just add a check-in for the week, in the sense of the teachers. We have a collection, and we just keep putting things that are simple as this, like what is your dream job, so teachers can just include it in the beginning of the lesson, to things that are a little bit more deeper, like a guided imagery, or something to support relaxation, something of this or that. So how are you feeling, and showing the students, to label their emotion and to feel, and being able to spend time thinking about what is going on with me, and having that self-awareness. So in English and Spanish, of course. And so we keep adding to it. We have teachers giving us more to it. So we have a whole collection of, and you will be able to have access to this, just so that way there's something that, to build relationship with kids, to check in with each one of them. Because a lot of times, especially now with virtual learning, we have kids that are all day long and they don't say a word, they don't speak a word, and they don't connect with anyone. So having the opportunity, even if it's for just that second, having every child say something and his voice or her voice being heard is important. And we also have a website from Moses that they gave us to support the mental health of our teachers, that they have a lot of resources there to support them. We also do an staff SEL challenge every month or every week. And they are, I love this. This is one of my favorite parts of the job. I do this over the weekend, and it's just like we did a lucky duck for April, and every week we select the winners, and you have to see those teachers with the ducks. Every duck at the bottom had a number, and then we picked numbers, and they could select the lucky duck, which was like, keeping us afloat. Teachers were just, it was like the little things that make us happy. And then we have every month a different theme, and some of them is just share something that makes you happy, share something that fills your cup, share something that helps your mental health, and they share pictures. And I love this, because nowadays we're not interacting as much with each other in the building. So being able to check out the pictures that people are submitting is a nice way of also building community. And I love to do this part of the work. It's exciting. And last but not least, to have everything in one place, we have in our website this choice board with all the resources involving SEL and equity that we provide, from the script for restorative circles that we're going to discuss here, to all the professional developments that we have done in case they miss or in case they want to go back. We have it all in one place, and you will have the opportunity later on to explore that, and you to do whatever you need, you can take. We can share. The second one is engaging parents and school communities. One of the things that we offer is OPRIME, and OPRIME is great. They work very close with our families and organizations to make sure that our parents, our families have the resources to support they need to support the social emotional needs. and provide engagement and connectedness. One of my favorite things is this Google form that anybody can complete, from, you know, an administrator, a guidance counselor, a social worker, a teacher, a community member, a parent. Is available for, you can, you know, fill it out. And it's just basically, if you see a need of a family or of somebody, you just complete it, and you know, and we provide whatever it is that they need. And we were calling a kid that wasn't doing the form, and the mom said, I don't have a thermometer. So I'm like, fine, okay, we gave them a thermometer. Somebody didn't have internet because he wasn't working it, and now we were able to provide that. And we have people who donate things to our to All Prime, so that we'll be able to help families, from Pampers, food, school supplies, whatever it is that that family needs, we provide it to them or connect them to someone that can support them. I also love this part of the work. We also, one thing that we do, and this is to educate our families. As we know, if our families are more educated and they learn and they're going to be able to support our students better, and the mental health will be better. So we have a lot of opportunities for the family to learning opportunities, from, you know, how to talk in English and Spanish, how to talk to your teenagers, you know, whatever you're struggling with, and you know, E&L classes to support them, or different things of how to understand your child's behavior if your child have different needs. So this is the Parent University. And one of the other things that we do have every week, we send a parent newsletter, and the parent newsletter is in English and in Spanish, and it's giving parents like different tips that, you know, in English and Spanish that they can do to support social emotional learning. And then they can see the every week a new one, but we have the collections that parents can go back. Some of them are listening, and some of them are actual activities in both languages, and you will have access to that. And one of my favorite things to do is, like, I love to, when every time that we do any meeting or any informational section, we not only do it in English, we also do it in Spanish. We do both the Google slide and the presentation recording in Spanish, and that way our parents can go back to it and can listen to it at any time they want us. We know a lot of our families have 2 or 3 jobs, and it's not that they can attend those meetings, but if they can listen to the recording, that's one way that we make sure that we're communicating with our family, and they know where to go. Diversifying the workforce, as I said to you, is so important that our students, we have people that speak the language, or that our students are speaking, or that represent the students, so important, so they can see role models of successful people around them, and they don't feel like, I don't belong here, or I cannot talk to anybody. I don't want to talk too much, but one of my favorite stories was this girl who came from Dominican Republic in here. And, you know, the guidance counselor, they always like to introduce me to the new students, because I can feel I can feel what they're feeling. And after like a whole conversation, I was translating to her classes and her navigating. We were going back and forth, you know, and it was like 45 minutes giving her everything, and I was translating for the guidance counselor. After everything, she said, do you have any questions? And I said, ¿Tienes una pregunta? She said, because I told her my story before that. She says, Miss Mercado, ¿cómo tú aprendiste inglés? Like, how did you learn English? That was like her biggest like question ever. And I, you know, and it was just, it warmed my heart. And I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll help you. It's going to be hard, but you get it. I'm here to support you. So those little things like that matter, that our students are able to you know, have somebody that looks like them or speak the language in their schools. Another thing that we have been doing a lot of work is making sure that we eliminate and examine all the structures and system in place that are creating barriers. Like a lot of the times, like what we've been noticing, you know, some of our kids, our students of colors, are not going to those high level math courses. So we are actually doing a lot of work on that and making sure that is equitable, and we have, everyone is receiving rigorous training, and what support we have to give to make sure that we are having those, you know, those opportunities for all our students, and looking at our curriculum and making sure it's culturally responsive, and looking at a lot of after school programs that we have to support our students, so they don't have to spend 10 hours doing something, you know, from 4 to 8 p.m. We have after school program, from homework club, from MBK to the sisterhoods. It's like a group of ladies, to supporting the students with the earth science review, the students in earth science, yoga, you know, book clubs, math scientists, esports, if there's whatever. So our students after school have constructive, supportive, engaging activities that they can participate instead of being home, babysitting, their siblings and on technology, which, we might not want that for them right now. So these are just to keep our students engaged. 5 is developing inclusive discipline. One of the things that we have done is we have trained all our teachers with the basic training of restorative justice and how to make sure, students learn about taking responsibility for their action, how they're harming others and what they can do about it instead of, you made this mistake, you get suspended, come back. The students are coming back with those emotions and those feelings, and they haven't learned from that mistake. So we want to make sure that our students have the opportunity to learn from the mistakes, because they're going to make mistakes and what they can do about it. So restorative, practices is really important to us. And we are right now, when we see a problem, we having our students take the ownership of doing something about it. For example, we were having a lot of some difficulties with cyberbullying and making comments through social media. So a group of our students decided to get together and create a video to share with the students things about how to be respectful in media and how that impacts everybody else and so forth. So and that was really impactful, just to make sure instead of the administration or the educators telling you shouldn't do this and this is what's happening, our students are the ones sending the messages to their peers. And we are also updating our code of conduct, making sure it is is more inclusive and equitable. Last but not least, providing wraparound services and support. And this is another one of my favorite parts too, because I think it's very important, the support that we give our families, from Open Door Medical, which is right on our building, and Andrew's Mental Health, to support those families that, that right here, they just have to come. They don't need to have insurance or anything. You go to Open Door right in the building and they can provide those services. So students don't have to miss schoolwork to help their families with that. With Neighbors Inc., with translation, things that have to do with immigration or paperwork, legal things that they support our families with that. With Pace University, mentors and tutors. And as you see, this is like a little screenshot of what we have. Those students who are really struggling academically and chronically absent, we create like a champion. They have a champion in the school. Like you see my name there. I have a couple of students that like we just check in with them and saying like, what is going on at home? What can we help you with? Do you need support? Trying to set up a tutor or mentor for them and so forth. So that way those students who are struggling the most, we don't let them fail. We want to make sure that there's somebody in the school, an advocate for them to follow up and get to know the student better and see how we can support them. Okay, let's take a deep breath. And right now, I just want to do another poll before we start doing our action, we start working on our action plan. Which one of these 6 recommendations do you want to prioritize? That's like the one that today you want to think about, do something about it to support your, your school or your district.
Ellie, I've gone ahead and removed the spotlight so that you can see more of the gallery and they can see each other in case anyone wants to ask a question or participate in some way.
Yeah, if anybody has a question, feel free to raise your hand, and Jackie, you can help me since you can see more people. Absolutely.
Hi, I have a quick question. My name is Tracy Mecca. I'm an assistant principal at Benjamin Franklin Elementary School in Lakeland Central School District. SEL is very, very important. And, with everything going on, it's just, I feel like there's bits and pieces here. We do this, that, the other thing. But before, as we all know, we can move, kids anywhere, we need to address all of, these concerns, SEL, equity, and so on and so forth. It's overwhelming in a wonderful way. Just so many ideas are, going through, my mind and what have you. I guess, how long have you been doing this for? How did you start? so that it's manageable, and we can sort of go from point A to point B. I have so many things going in my mind, but I guess who's involved with this? Was there a committee? And how did you get this off the ground, and all of the resources that you found?
Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. And this is not a one person thing to do. So, you know, like Asanin or Prime is a community centers. It's little by little putting things together. And this is something that I want to encourage all of you. And this is what we're going to be working on. So just, we have to start just with one thing and then putting everything together. It's impossible to do it all at once, but having the support, that's what we need, the support of everybody in this, and we need to educate more in this, so that way we can, you know, have buy-in. And you know, I started doing the SEL for the building with a lot of passion, and then I had people seeing me and giving me stuff, and then all of a sudden right now I'm having some people do some lead here. So but you start with one little thing, and that's what we're going to have the opportunity to do. And Tracy, like, I would love to, you know, get to know you, and anything that I can do to support you and giving you ideas and resources, and you guys sharing with me too, because I want to learn as much as you do to continue this work. But it is, you know, things don't happen overnight, but one little thing can make a big difference. Thank you. Jackie, did we get the results? I can't see it right now, just so that way we know what people are interested in.
Can you see it now?
Yes. Okay. So
Okay, great.
professional development and equitable, rigorous culture work was like the one that had the most. Thank you so much. Okay, awesome. And I know, let me just go to the next page, because I want to get to the work, and I know we're running a little late. But yeah,
We do
like
have one raised hand, Ellie. I'm sorry. We do have, I think it's Melissa who may have her hand up.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to ask Ellie another quick question. Ellie, just if you can talk a little bit about how pandemic has impacted the work that you've done within the last year and a half, and how it's impacting moving forward. Like, are there things that, silver linings that you're going to keep in mind moving forward with the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. It has definitely impacted that. Like, you know, we used to do a lot more with social, emotional learning, more community getting together. We have big breakfasts, because, you know, building the school community, and we want our kids to get to know each other and build relationships, but we have to do that with the staff too. That has really been impacted because we can't be together. That's one of the reasons instead of like us having those gatherings, like I said, let's put in pictures of what's going on in the Google slide, that people can do that. And it is because a lot of the times, like, the priority, the safety comes first before we do an activity. So it definitely has impacted. We just have to get more creative. A lot of the things that we have been able to do is, like, we have done like a lot of more using technology now that we cannot get together as often, even if it's just more check-in times, you know, virtually and so forth. But you know, we have just adapted and doing the best we can. We used to meet more often as a committee, and now because we had to, you know, the new regulations and things coming up, those things for the safety comes first, and we have to cancel some of our meetings. So our work hasn't been growing as consistently as we would like to, because of course safety comes first in that sense. But I do, my hope is, like, hopefully, you know, next year we're gonna continue our growth, and my hope is that today, with, you know, the resources and us, we can create like a little mastermind or tribe together, that we, you know, you guys can have access to this, and we can help each other make it happen, and support each other in this work, because it is important. But we don't have to start from scratch. We can, you know, help each other with the ideas and the resources that we have to make it easier to for each other. So what we would like to do is right now, you know, this is I created, and I'm going to be sharing with you the action plan. Is like a template that, you know, one thing, one idea. Listen, we can't move mountains, but that doesn't mean, like, you know, I love Martin Luther King quotes, like, you might not be able to run, but you can crawl, or just at least move one little simple thing that you can do, a strategy or initiative that you can move away from today to take action in that. So you will be, you know, let's say if you say, you know what, one of the things that my building is like the staff, they don't see each other. I want want to do a little self-care challenge or something like that, and then putting in what is it that I have to do, who's responsible, by when, what are the resources that I need to make it happen. Just one little tiny thing, because it is overwhelming. There's so much to be done, and there's so much we can do, and there's so many responsibilities that we have, and this takes time. But one little thing, like one little person taking a few minutes fighting for me to just make sure that I was in the, you know, in the more rigorous program, kind of transform my whole life. So if that's all you can do for, you know, for today, that's good enough, because hopefully that person can pass it on and so forth. So let's, you know, we have to make sure that, you know, something is together, we're gonna make a bigger difference. So we're gonna have the opportunity to be into breakout rooms, but this is your time, and I value your time because I value my time, and I know we have so much on our plate right now. So you decide what you want to do. You can actually get into a breakout room that you're interested in and discuss with some of the people that are interested in the same thing, of you know, ideas or that you want to implement, get feedback and strength and possible obstacles that have to do with that specific recommendation. Or you can use it this time and say, you know what, I'm going to go to the action plan, make a copy of this document, because you know what, something that I saw and resonated with me, let's say for example, is that challenge. I should do something for the staff because we need to do this so they can end the year well. And you can just mute yourself, and during that time, just create your little plan of what you're planning to do. Or if at that time, what you want to do is like, you know what, I want to see what are some of the professional development things that they do. And you can go back to the presentation, and Jackie, I want you to put the presentation and, you know, help me with that. And you say like, let me see what was the you know, that equity meeting that they had, because we need to do some work about it. And you can actually use some of the ideas of what are, you know, the things that we have. Hold on, let me just go back. Let me go here. This one, I think it is, that you can actually go back and look at, you know, some of the equity PD that has been done, and maybe some of these things that we have done. You can make it your own and get some ideas to do some professional development in that point. And anything that you need for help, you know, whether I did the professional development or somebody in my district, we're more than happy. We have to work together and help each other out in any way we can. So you can use that time to explore some of the things that we have done, or do whatever it is that you need to do. This is your time, and you can do whatever you think you need to do to support your district. I'm not sure how much time we're going to be having right now, but Jackie.
So Ellie, we have our folks, those who can stay with us, we have them until about 11:15. So I think we can at least give them about 15 minutes to jump into a room and talk, and then we can bring them back for a 5-minute closing remarks conversation. But that 15 minutes of either asynchronous work, turning off your camera and focusing solely on your own action plan, or joining a breakout room so that you can unpack some of these ideas with colleagues. I'm going to put that link to the presentation back in the chat. I know that Ellie said earlier, some of the resources you may not be able to access because they're restricted to Austining users only, but you should be able to reach out to everyone, to all of the slides on here, and you should be able to also email Ellie directly if there are any questions or anything that you can't seem to access but that you'd really like access to. She might be able to find a workaround for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so would you like me to open up the breakout rooms now so folks can dive in?
Absolutely, and let's make sure we have the action plan template in it. And another thing, and maybe we want to put this one in here, I organize it in this way, like support for staff, for students and families. So if you want to explore it using that way instead of the presentation, that's another way that you can, you know, look at the resources to support. So you can explore if that's what you choose to do now.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that action plan template link right here in the chat. Now everyone has access directly to that. I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. You have choice, so you can choose which room you'd like to go into. I'm going to open all the rooms, and we are going to come back together at 11:10. So it's about 10:55 now. I'm going to open all rooms, and we'll come back at about 11:10.
It was really great to be able to get into the breakout room and have a conversation with some of you, which was awesome. So the accountability form, I just want you to, when, now or towards the end, just complete it with your email. So any resources that I have, I can share with you, and you please share with me anything that you're doing with your district, because together we're better. I believe in that. That way we can move this work forward. And I just want to be, I want to just share with you, like, my hope today that you get with you is that my hope today is like to inspire all of us to just take one little thing and realize the importance of this work, and embedding SEL with an equity lens, and making sure that all our students feel safe and they have positive role models and they have that caring and supportive, people around them. And I do, appreciate your time here with me, and your commitment to this work. And I know the collective work of all of them, of embedding equity lens, in our schools, is definitely going to make a difference, and we can continue this work moving forward. So I just want to have the opportunity for you to just share, like, you can share an immediate action step you will be taking after this PD, one little aha moment or an idea that stuck with you at this time. If you want to share, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand, and Jackie will help me with that.
I've gone ahead and removed Spotlight, Ellie, so that we can see the gallery view. And if anyone is raising their hands or would like to unmute and chime in, please feel free. I do love that you're also using the chat. That's a great way to collect your thoughts.
I know that some of you had great moments in the breakout room. Just awesome. Can't wait to be able to read the chat later, since we don't have enough time now. But if anybody wants to share an idea or something that stuck with them.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I'm just wondering if you have separate committees for like your SEL as well as your PBIS, or is that the same committee? How does that work for you?
Great question. That's a really great question, and something we have been debating. We have a building district SEL and a school building SEL committee, and we have a separate right now equity committee, which some people are in both committees. And one of the things that we are trying to do is actually to embed all of that, because it's about creating a culture of care. And under that umbrella of culture of care, all of this is involved, social emotional learning, equity, so being culturally responsive, PBIS, responsive practices, and inclusive. All of that have to do by creating that culture of care that we want to have in our buildings, with building relationship and so forth. So I believe that everything should be embedded. But right now we do have separate committees, and my work is like, like hopefully in the future we realize how all of this, should come together, because they all have to do with that community of culture and care that we want to build in our schools, in our district. So that's where we are right now.
Thank you. I'm thinking the same thoughts. So I was curious where you're at.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Looks like N. Urso raised their hand.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you use any type of restorative practices or restorative justice in your school, and if you could just briefly touch on that a bit, because I'm very interested in that.
Yes, absolutely. And if you get the chance to go look at the presentation, we have a little website. We do, all our teachers were trained actually for the first time when we hit the pandemic, I think in May 2020, virtually, with like a basic training of restorative practices in restorative schools. So they have that, and we have a person in the building who has done I did the training myself, but we have a person in the building that has done a lot of advanced training and training the staff. And when kids are when we feel that the kids need a restorative practice, we actually practice it. I do it automatically. We sit them together, and we have, sometimes virtually or in person, and for me it's natural. But like when we want, we have someone in the building that does it after school and at lunchtime, who has been trained that, we can fill out a form and say, this kid and this kid do need to have this conversation. And there was like, if two kids had a fight and there's a lot of tension and history from first grade, they still not getting along in middle school. We realized like, they need to have those conversations so that way they can move past that. So that way they can come to school and actually learn, because having all those stuff in your brain, like, I don't know how you can pay attention in class with all of that happening. So it's very important. So we do have restorative practices and our teachers have been trained. But we do have more work to be done in that area. We want it to be more where everybody feels 100% comfortable leading those. And a lot of teachers practice community circles in the beginning of each class. One of the teachers is here with us. So they do that community circles, even if it's just a check-in. Those are community building circles, but we also have restorative practice circles when it's like when an incident happened, to make sure. And we do it with teachers too, teacher and student. When teacher, let's say, disrespectful to a student is disrespectful to a teacher and the kid gets a consequence, and coming back, we make sure we have some of those conversations coming back, so that way they can take ownership and they can leave things in the back, learn from what happened and move on forward. I think those are really important for the social, emotional, well-being of both the teacher and the student. So we do it with both students and adults and students too, and adults to adults too. And I have been part of those sometimes, so I think it helps everybody.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
We are a little bit past 11:15, and I know many of you may have next meetings or classes to get to. So I know Ellie, if you wouldn't mind putting your email in the chat, even though it may already be as part of your presentation. No problem. So folks, if you have additional questions or would like more information from Ellie, or access that she may be able to provide to some of the slides that you may not have direct access to, please feel free to reach out to her. But I personally want to say, Ellie, thank you so much for your leadership, your grace, and your passion and clear commitment to your students, your school, your community, and this work. You really are a pleasure to work with and a brilliant leader, and I'm very lucky to know you. And I thank you all for being with us today, for learning with us and growing with us. And we look forward to continuing to provide programs like this in the near future for SEL. Ellie is part of a pilot program we are doing where our leaders in our region will be invited to provide what we'll call leadership lunch and learn hours. And just like Ellie, if you have an expertise or a passion for a topic and you'd like to present through the Center for Educational Leadership for your colleagues in the region, we'd love to have you, and we'd love to have you provide your expertise for us and for our leaders at all levels. So we look forward to continuing this work, continuing on our SEL and equity work, as well as other leadership topics. We invite you to reach out to us. We will have a form that will go out to leadership groups, inviting them to propose a topic and propose a session. And just like I worked with Ellie to get today started and move our program along, I would do the same with all of you. So looking forward to continuing to learn and lead with all of you. Thank you for being here with us today. Enjoy the rest of your day. And Ellie, thank you so much for
Thank you. It was a privilege. And please share with me. Thank you all for being here with us.